The build-up to this year's World Juniors has been fascinating. On one hand, we have a group like Team Canada, who's been encountering the definition of what is the logjam effect, as a player like Zayne Perekh, who had one of the greatest draft years by a CHL defenseman in league history.
Misa PJ Forgione now for Zayne Perekh at the right point. Has traffic in front, he'll switch with Forgione. Here comes Perekh into the slot, a shot, and he scores! The hat trick! By Rye, rebound out, here's Perekh, long shot, he scores! Tie-up, it comes back, Perekh hops into action, hesitates, pulls it, scores! What a shot! One more drop, Sapavala for Perekh down the wing. Heads to the net, here's Perekh, shoots, and scores! Are you kidding?
Would be cut from the original roster. In the last 10 games, Perekh has been on pace for 120 points. And if we consider the countries who have CHL players in this tournament, from this pace, Zayne Perekh as the defenseman would lead every single team in scoring besides, well, Team Canada. You could make an entire second Canadian World Junior team, and they would have a good chance at medaling in this tournament. Michael Misa, who is draft eligible this season, has been over a goal per game this season and is on pace for 140 points. So you know, just on par with McDavid and Connor Bedard.
To Misa with a shot, he scores! Michael Misa!
Willis on the restart, then Seema. Spirit have speed, across Harmer, in front, jam play! Misa shut down by Costanzo, rebound, they score! It's Misa!
But here's the thing. Team Canada in the last few decades has slowly but surely began to lose their dominance in this tournament. Obviously, they've had many amazing gold medal finishes.
Joshua walks in, got the intended score! Dylan Gunther! Golden goal in Halifax!
But there was a stretch where Team Canada was unstoppable and were basically a gold medal lock every single season, as Team Canada went from winning 5 gold medals in a row to winning 5 gold medals in the last 14 tournaments, which, don't get me wrong, is still great, but it's clear that they've been losing an edge. Because in the past, Team Canada, for the most part, would take the best player available, but with recent trends, especially in the NHL, where teams have realized that chemistry is far more important, if they use this strategy now, it can throw the entire team's chemistry off its equilibrium. Imagine if Team Canada had the equivalent of 4 Alex Ovechkins. How could you possibly utilize all 4 of those players to where they're put into a position to take over games? You couldn't. There's only a finite amount of power play time, so you're better off cutting 1 or 2 of them and finding a big body defensive forward whose primary goal is to shut down the other team. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Team Canada has been very focused on finding players who have natural chemistry, even if it means cutting a Zayne Perekh or Michael Misa. When you're going against Team USA, where many if not the majority of the roster at some point played on the same team, this chemistry will outweigh star power, and the proof is in the pudding. The same thing can be said about teams like Sweden and Finland. So on one hand, elite prospects, if not top prospects in the world, have been getting cut from Team Canada. But on the other hand, for countries that aren't loaded with top prospects, they position their players to be single-handedly recognized worldwide from this tournament. Keep in mind, the World Juniors is one of the most watched hockey events in the world. According to the IIHF, the 2021 tournament had over 100 million viewers. Between Canada and Russia alone, there was 28.5 million unique viewers. In that same season, Tampa Bay and Montreal would total 12 million viewers in the finals. What does this mean, you ask? This tournament, more than ever, puts a spotlight on countries and/or top prospects, which has the ability to single-handedly rearrange the entire draft class. And all of this made me think, it is a well-known fact that this tournament can make or break a prospect's start to their careers. But does this tournament actually dictate the type of player that they will become in the NHL? Does their ability to score big goals and big games really show that these players have a special clutch gene? And well, after looking into the numbers, I would discover something truly shocking. And today's video is sponsored by Masterclass. You guys loved them last time, so they're back with a very special offer for you guys. Masterclass members gain unlimited access to thousands of online classes from over 200 expert instructors. Like seriously, go check out their website. The fact that they were able to somehow concoct a list of some of the most successful people in our generation is not only fascinating, but the things you can learn are invaluable. Ranging from Gordon Ramsay, teaching classes on the intricacies of cooking, Mark Cuban giving behind-the-scenes knowledge on starting a successful business. Perhaps you like music. They have classes taught by legends like Mariah Carey, John Legend. They have Ringo Starr. They got a Beatle. But what is hands down been my favorite class? Well, It's Wayne Gretzky. As I'm sure many of you watching this video had or have aspirations of playing professional hockey, maybe you have a kid with NHL dreams. So the fact that Wayne Gretzky has an entire class teaching you on how to build a winning mindset, it's priceless. So if you click my exclusive link down below or scan this QR code, you'll receive 15% off your annual subscription, which is billed yearly, as Masterclass has an expert to bring your passion to the next level. So thank you so much to Masterclass for sponsoring today's video. Please go check them out and give them some love and support. On the opposite side to the hockey spectrum to Canada, we have a country like Switzerland. Think about the optics here. A player like Niko Heer went from being underrated due to the fact that he played in the Swiss Junior League the season before, where a 17-year-old Heer would shock the tournament.
Now ball centers it, Heer in, shoot, scores! There's Heer again!
When we consider that at 140-point pace Michael Misa was cut from Team Canada, if Heer was Canadian, he wouldn't stand a chance to make the roster this season. So if he doesn't play in this tournament, hockey history is changed forever. What do I mean, you ask? Well, let's take a look at the game where Heer and Switzerland had to face off against Team USA, as this team was led by Charlie McAvoy, Tage Thompson, Keller, Terry, Adam Fox. They had both Jake Ottinger and Joseph Woll as goalie options. This team was filled to the brim with NHL players who are now stars, if not franchise players. In fact, 19 of their 23-man roster has played in the NHL, whereas the Swiss team would end up producing 2 NHL players, Niko Heer and Jonas Siegenthaler. So when you consider that this US team would eventually steamroll the entire tournament and win a gold medal, Switzerland had no chance. Right? On this play, Heer receives the puck on the half wall. Keep in mind, Charlie McAvoy is the main defender on Heer. Heer with his head up, fakes that he's about to load up for a wrister. This subtle move causes McAvoy to freeze. Heer then breaks his ankles, and now with 4 US defenders within distance to go stick on puck,
Lukin now ball and Rutherford, Heer scores!
he slices through all of them and puts his team on the board. Later in the period, against all odds, during a chaotic scrum,
Heer trying to chip it in, Heer with the wrap, score!
Heer would tie the game. Now, they did lose this game. The fact that he single-handedly pushed his team, his country, to nearly knocking out Team USA was a miracle, because in the 2 games against Canada and the US, Niko Heer would score 4 goals. Without Heer having the ability to showcase his upside to the hockey world, I can say with confidence that Niko Heer doesn't go first overall. As heading into the season, many if not most scouting agencies had Heer between 15 and 20 in the rankings, and due to this tournament, it would single-handedly rocket his draft stock.
Our first selection in the 2017 entry draft, Niko Heer.
Where Heer today has developed into a 2-way star. So what I'm trying to say here is that this tournament has the ability to single-handedly launch a prospect's career into stardom, but on the other hand, it'll create a shroud of doubt surrounding the top prospects who couldn't crack the roster. And same goes with the ones who just didn't perform. Elias Pettersson in the same tournament would disappoint, leading to him falling on many scouts' rankings. Which brings me to my next point, clutch factor. The World Juniors MVP is given to the best player in the tournament, as these players would show up big in high-pressure games and typically carried their team to a gold medal. Which made me think, does this clutch gene translate to the NHL? The ability to score big goals in the biggest games of their young careers, as this is an invaluable trait. Think about how many players there are in the NHL who light up the regular season only to disappoint in the playoffs. This factor alone could explain why scouts put so much emphasis on this tournament. And well, if we look at every World Junior MVP from 2004 up until 2023, we can get a great perspective on whether or not this theory holds some weight. For starters, there's been 19 MVPs in this period. From those 19 players, 18 of them have played in the NHL. They've won a combined 17 major NHL awards. Granted, Bergeron and Price are carrying the weight here, but it's also worth mentioning that many of these prior MVPs are still in their early 20s and may just win some more awards in the future. These players have also been selected to an All-Star game 33 times. Now, does being selected for an all-star team mean everything? No, of course not, but it still means that they're seen as a top player in the league, or at the very least, a top player on their team. And keep in mind, it wasn't just, Patrice Bergeron or Carey Price carrying this load. 12 out of the last 19 MVPs were selected as an all-star. And I don't think it's that crazy to assume a guy like Connor Bedard, Mason McTavish or Lafreniere won't make it one day, meaning there could be 15 out of the last 19 MVPs making an all-star game. This can't be said about first-round picks, not until you get into the top 10, if not top 5, to see that much consistency. Now, this is where things get crazy. The ability to score goals in big games is invaluable, especially when it comes to playoff hockey. And from the last 19 MVPs, I would decide to calculate their game-winning goal percentage relative to their total goals scored in their careers, where I would discover something crazy. For some perspective, imagine a player has 100 career goals, and 10 of those were game winners. So that would mean that 10% of his career goals won that game. Okay, so from the prior MVPs, keep in mind many of these players have been disappointments relative to their World Junior hype. They have scored the game-winning goal on 16.67% of their total goals. 16.67%. But okay, the stat doesn't mean much when you're just looking at this alone. So, get ready for this. If we look at the last 5 Rocket Richard players, so the 5 previous leading goal scorers in the NHL, Matthews, Ovechkin, McDavid, Pasternak, Crosby, their career game-winning goal percentage is 16.94%, meaning that the previous World Junior MVPs have finished just shy of not just the star players in the league. No, we're talking about some of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history.
Pasternak is there. He scores!
Now, consider this. Many of the recent MVPs like Bedard, McTavish, Zegras have been on really bad teams as they played their entire careers at the bottom of the standings and have won limited games. Because of this, it skews the data. So if we remove these outliers, it now brings their career game-winning percentage to 18.4%, which now surpasses some of the all-time greats by a fairly substantial margin. But okay, the regular season is one thing, so if these tournaments can truly judge how clutch a player is in big moments, how about the playoffs? The prior MVPs have a combined average of 15.9%. The previous 5 Rocket Richard winners have a combined average of 15.2%. The fact that prior World Junior MVPs are even comparable to some of the all-time greats, let alone surpassing them in career game-winning goals in the playoffs is mind-blowing. Now, does this mean everything? Does this stat show that these players are more clutch than Ovechkin or Crosby? No, of course not. But without a doubt, there's been a direct correlation to the top players in the World Juniors to them becoming studs in the NHL. And this is why scouts put so much emphasis on this tournament. I would really appreciate ya if you left a like on this video, and a big shout out to Masterclass for sponsoring today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.